No one is coming to save you during an SHTF event. There is no 911 during SHTF. You have to be your own police. You have to be your own security. Right now we're seeing a defunding of our police departments around the country, thanks to a movement that has emerged, as well as the financial implications of the pandemic. So stick around for the rest of the video. We're going to talk about what's happening to police departments around the country right now, how we should prepare for that situation to develop, and how we cannot expect anyone but ourselves to be our own police during an SHTF event. Hey everybody, it's Magic Prepper, and today we're going to talk about how police are being defunded around the country and how we can already see the start of not having law enforcement around during an SHTF crisis. During the pandemic, budget cuts have already been happening because of the financial implications of what the pandemic has brought with it. But now we also have a large portion of the country supporting a movement to defund the police, and many police agencies all over the country have already reported huge budget cuts and extreme limitations on what they're capable of doing now when it comes to emergency response, training, recruiting, etc., etc. So in SHTF, we all already know that we will have to be our own security. We'll have to be our own police. That's why community is so important during an SHTF event. But we can already see that even during times that aren't quite qualified as full-on, full-blown, without rule of law scenarios, the police are already starting to fade away. And we have to start taking our security and our self-defense very seriously. So if you're new to SHTF prepping and you're worried about your security, or if you've been around for a while and you are a security expert, hit the subscribe button below so that way we can help those who are new to the situation that want to prepare better and share the information that those of you who might be experts in the field have to share with those people. We try to keep the conversations going down in the comments, and a lot of people have gotten a lot of information down there. So please make sure to do your part and let people know the advice you might have when it comes to being your own personal security. So the pandemic happened and it killed the economy, and budget cuts were inevitable. Budget cuts similar to what we saw in 2008. Those things were going to happen. But because of the unrest in the country and the demand of a large portion of the country to say, hey, I want to defund the police, we don't need them, okay? That's their thought process. Well, that has pushed the city councils and everybody else who's in charge of budgets to actually start defunding the police through budget cuts and through other means necessary to basically help their constituents get what they want and to give themselves a pat on the back. Many of us know, though, that defunding the police is actually the wrong answer for what these people are demanding. And we can expect to see less and less police on the streets. We can expect to see less qualified police on the streets, and especially once things evolve into a long-term SHTF scenario, there will be no police. Police are people just like you and I. They have families, they have loved ones, and they have people that they care about, that if an SHTF situation arises to the point of being full-blown without rule of law, those people are going to take care of their families before they worry about trying to enforce the law and protecting your personal security. And can you really blame them? Of course not. So we have to be in charge of our personal security. This is why I often speak about firearms. This is often why I speak about self-defense. This is often why I speak about needing to get training, because people need to be able to take care of themselves, because there will be no 911 in an SHTF scenario. There is no calling for somebody else to come save you. And if you're not on top of your training and on top of the equipment that you need to be able to protect yourself, people will take advantage of that and you will find yourself in a bad situation. So right now you should be taking care of those preps and that equipment and that training, because the police are already losing grip on the rule of law. So there are some things that we need to talk about when it comes to this whole movement to defund the police. And it's not just the movement that's guilty of this situation, it's also the pandemic and the financial implications created by it. Either way, it still makes us as preppers and people who are worried about security less prepared in the sense of knowing we have emergency services available. So the first things that go when it comes to budget cuts and when it comes to defunding a police department are training, recruitment, and equipment. That's where they start cutting the budget. And unfortunately, for the people who think that this is a good idea, they're actually ruining their own plans of trying to reform the police by doing this, because the best way to reform the police is going to be through the next generation of officers that are recruited, the investment into proper training to help those new recruits learn how to community police a little bit better, or whatever it is those people are expecting, and giving them the proper equipment to be able to feel safer and to be able to do their job more diligently without the fear of what may happen to them on a daily basis. So those are the things that get cut first. So all those things are going to lead up to the expectation of what these people have from the defunding to not work. And it's going to hurt people who don't want to defund the police, because their police that they have will be less qualified, less trained. They won't have as many officers on the street. They won't have as many officers to respond to emergency calls. And the officers who do respond won't have as good of equipment when it comes to responding to whatever situation might occur. And I don't know about you, but I want to make sure that if an emergency, dangerous situation was to arise, that the police who arrive are at least able to be on the same level as whatever threat there might be. So that's what we're already seeing. And if that's already happening, imagine if things keep evolving in the direction we're going now. You can't have the police in your pocket. They can't be patrolling your streets regularly. And we already know that response times have gotten to huge amounts of time from where they used to be. People are no longer even getting police to show up when they call 911. At times, the 911 operators are even letting people know that there's really no one to come help you. And because maybe whatever the situation is hasn't escalated to some sort of violence or anything yet, that they're going to just have to move on to the next call. That is already happening, especially in the major cities. But there's something else you need to be aware of. If you're a prepper and you're worried about your security, there are some cities and some hotspots that this is happening to a little bit faster than some of the other places throughout the country. Those cities are the ones you can already expect. Los Angeles, Seattle, New York City, Baltimore, but even places like Tempe, Arizona are starting to experience the same side effects of these budget cuts and the defunding of those police departments. Don't get excited though if you don't live in a major city, because this is actually affecting small towns just as well as it is large metropolitan areas. Even a town as small as Eureka, California, I think it has a population of about 27,000, is similarly affected as Los Angeles. The same style of budget cuts, the same loss in training, loss in recruitment, and loss in equipment is affecting a town that size, just as it is in Los Angeles. So even if you don't live in a major city, and even if you're in a rural area, it still might affect your police. And although most of us in the rural environments already have the understanding that we are our own police, and that maybe it'll take an hour or longer for police to show up to our property if something really does occur, that time will even be longer. That response time will get even wider based on the budget cuts that are happening if they continue to happen throughout the country. And like I said, not just big cities are affected. We're seeing this happen in small towns, okay? So have plans in place. You know you're going to be your own police during SHTF, but you should be working on those plans and you should be enacting those protocols now, so that way, even though we're still not quite at the without rule of law scenario we talk about often, we are in a situation where our police are no longer as effective as they used to be, and you cannot count on them to be able to be there in time in case of an emergency. So you need to get training. Make sure you're trained. Make sure you have first aid. Make sure you have firearms training. Make sure you get some basic self-defense training as well. Martial arts has helped me through my entire life when it came to fitness and when it came to being able to have confidence in my ability to defend myself, and it's something I definitely suggest everybody at least have some experience with. I also need you to invest in your actual equipment. So you need to get capable self-defense firearms so that you can make sure that you're able to level the playing field with whatever threats might arise in your area, in your neighborhood, or at your home. So make sure you buy, a quality self-defense firearm, whether or not you get a 12-gauge shotgun, whether or not you get an AR, or whether or not you get a handgun. My suggestion is start with a handgun if you have nothing else. But that being said, any of these is going to do a great job at defending yourself, especially in your home. So make sure you have something. Go out, use whatever budget you're working with and try to get the best thing you can for what you have to spend. You also need to start making plans. And when I say that, I don't just mean plans on how you're gonna buy stuff or plans on how you're gonna get training, but I mean actual emergency plans. How are you gonna react in your home if there is an invasion? How are you gonna react in your home if there is turmoil outside in your neighborhood or on your street? Have an exit plan, have an escape route. Make sure your family knows how they should react if there is some kind of a turbulence in your home. You need to make sure those plans are already set in place. Get yourself some surveillance. Video cameras of some kind, even motion sensors, if you're gonna go with the basics, are still better than nothing. Treat your home as if you're the only one who's gonna come defend it. If you are acting like the police are gonna come save you in any situation right now, you're probably gonna be in for a surprise. We are in a bad place right now. There is no money to be spent on these services. And unless you are top priority on the list of things to do when it comes to your local police department, you're not gonna see them very quickly at all. And don't be unaware of the fact that criminals and people who want to take advantage of this situation know that. They already know that. Some of your most mastermind criminals already understand response times because that's how they formulate their plans on how they're going to get in and get out when it comes to accomplishing whatever goal they might have had. But for your home defense and your home security, you have to understand that those people know those times have given them a bigger window now. And they're not going to be in such a hurry to just get in and get out with whatever valuables they might have been looking at through your home. Now they know they have more time to plan, they have more time to escape, they have more time to enact whatever plan they had and make sure that they get away with whatever prize it was that they had their eyes on. So these are all things you have to be aware of and have to be planning for now. Your community and your neighborhood is going to be the best line of defense for you. If your neighbors and you can get along and know each other well, you can watch out for each other. You'll know that the guy walking down the street right now isn't supposed to be there, rather than it being a possible neighbor you've never even met or seen before because you haven't gone out of your way to meet your own community. And building that community now, building some kind of a mutual assistance group during these times is going to pay off tenfold if things reach that tipping point of an actual long-term SHTF scenario, okay? So I wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of what's happening right now. And if you're in any of the cities that I listed here on this video, make sure you leave a comment below. Let us know how things are looking in your area. Let us know if you've heard any stories from people who needed 911 services, and ask them how long it took for things to happen. Ask them how long it took for the police to show up, because this is how we're gonna see things keep spiraling out of control until something changes. And with these budget cuts, with the implications of the pandemic on the economy, and with this whole defund the police movement, cities around the country are starting to actually do that. They're starting to actually affect the budget of the police. And if you're one of those people who relies on the police for taking care of things that are out of your control, you have to now reset your mind and start thinking about how you're going to take care of those things when they arise. Because the expectation of the police to be there in a timely fashion is going to change very quickly. So, without anything else to say about how there's no 911 during an SHTF event, that is going to be it for Magic Prep.